All right, moving on. The United States federal government shutdown has entered its second day on the 2nd of October, and after the Trump administration and the Democrats failed to strike a deal to extend funding, along with risking the furlough or possible permanent layoff of thousands of federal workers. The first US government shutdown in nearly 7 years is also set to jeopardize the crucial food assistance for about 6.7 million low-income American citizens and terminate several clean energy projects in the nation. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has also stated that U.S. economic growth could be hurt by the government shutdown, with the country's GDP possibly being negatively impacted. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump is also expected to meet with Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Russell Vought, to discuss cutting Democratic agencies, which he has labeled as political scams. There is no set endpoint to the deadlock, with the past shutdowns having lasted from a few days to more than a month. And as the political blame game escalates, billions of Americans are expected to be affected by ensuing situation. And we will discuss this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Professor Madhav Nalapat, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian. Mr. Andrew Latham, Professor of International Relations, is joining us from Minneapolis in the United States. Purnima Nath, Republican leader, is also with us on the show. But before that, let's take you to the big screen and show you what kind of an impact is this shutdown going to have, and what are some of the latest developments taking place as a result of this shutdown, which is in its second day. First up, food aid program for nearly 6.7 million low-income Americans is threatened. It could also be shut. It could also be stopped. So that is a big problem that is going to be, in fact, worrying a number of people. Trump administration has announced plans to terminate several clean energy projects. Trump, in fact, had minced no words. He said that when he was going to become president, he was going to be targeting a number of these agencies which he thought were political scams. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, has said that the US GDP could take a hit due to this particular shutdown. Nobody knows how long this shutdown is going to last, but the fact of the matter is that there is no business taking place at this point in time, at least from the government side. Trump to meet OMB Director Russell Vought to discuss cutting Democratic agencies as well. Trump, since he's taken office, he's cut down on a number of such agencies and institutions as well. Iconic national sites such as the Liberty Bell, Pennsylvania, and Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, have been shuttered as well, because there are no governmental employees to man them or monitor what's happening in and around these sites. So that's another trouble that's come along with this shutdown. Emergency disaster relief efforts will carry on, but other disaster-related activities will also slow down. So this is, of course, another jeopardizing situation for a number of citizens, and this could have a long-term impact on the safety of the situation as well. WIC program supporting women, infants and children is expected to deplete its fund very soon, and with this shutdown in place, the replenishment is perhaps not going to take place, and this again puts a number of these people involved with these efforts in a lot of trouble, and of course an uncertain future as well as to when this shutdown is going to in fact lift and when they will get that money. Trump says that Democrats want to give healthcare money to illegal aliens amidst a deadlock over Democrats' healthcare demands as well. Remember, Donald Trump was against Obamacare. He was against whatever the Democrats brought in when it came to healthcare. He's had his own set of ideas when it comes to reforms and healthcare bills, but none of that has come forth, or at least been tabled in the House. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has said that federal layoffs due to shutdown are imminent. There have been already close to about 5,000 to 6,000 people who've been sacked in various departments. This means more layoffs will be coming. The FBI also sacked a number of people, as was also corroborated by Kash Patel. And the shutdown is expected to extend till at least Friday, with the Senate out of session on Thursday due to Yom Kippur, which is the important day, important festival for the Jewish community. We'll in fact talk about this. We'll try and understand what does this mean for people who are directly involved over here. I'm going to rope in Mr. Andrew Latham first and understand from him what is exactly going on and how is this likely to impact Mr. Latham, the common American who has perhaps nothing to do with the shutdown and is also not at fault when it comes to this back and forth or this tug of war between the Democrats and the Republicans?
Very good multi-layered question. First of all, it's important to point out that, like India, the United States is a federal system, so it's the federal government that's partly shut down. State governments continue to deliver services, as do municipal and regional governments across the country. So it's not a complete government shutdown. Even at the federal or national level, it's only a partial shutdown. The military and the FBI and essential services, as they are defined in law, continue to provide services, continue to do what they're paid to do, and they continue to being paid to do what they're paid to do. But the rub comes, of course, where the non-essential workers are involved, and they are being laid off. So federal oversight of the markets, for example. Welfare state payments continue apace, Medicaid, Medicare, old age pensions, things like that. But a variety of other permits, passport applications, visa applications, things like that, they won't be happening. Even air traffic control, which is an essential service and which will continue, the view is, based on the last anomalously long, month-long shutdown, that air traffic will be delayed as well, and lots of flights will end up being canceled. If this lasts, like most of these do, for merely a few days, then neither the GDP nor the average American will be terribly badly impacted by this. Inconvenience, perhaps, but not catastrophic. If this goes longer than a month, as did the last one in 2018, 2019, then we'll see the knock-on effects. They'll be a little more profound, I think. But we're not there yet. And I'm of two minds here. It's most of these shutdowns last days, maybe a week or two. They don't last months. But the trend line has been that they've been getting longer because of the polarization in the political system here in the US. The Democrats want to blame the Republicans for this. The Republicans want to blame the Democrats for this. As the pain goes up, both parties will come under pressure to come to an agreement, but that might take weeks, not days.
All right, Professor Nalapat, so your assessment of the situation over here, and Donald Trump, of course, looking at more layoffs is also something which, was predictable. I've been following, the Senate hearing when it comes to Kash Patel and the kind of, allegations that he's been receiving. And the number one was that he was responsible directly through Donald Trump for laying off a number of people in FBI who did not sort of consent with the ideas that Donald Trump brought in the larger context and Trump's idiosyncrasies. What does this shutdown mean?
Look, Vineet, one of the main reasons for the Democrats being opposed to shutdown is the fact that President Trump refused to allow an extension of some aspects of the Affordable Care Act. Now, the Affordable Care Act is taken advantage of not only by Democrats, but by Republicans as well. Several of these so-called democratic programs are taken advantage of by underprivileged people. And you can have underprivileged people who frankly voted in large numbers for Donald Trump on the promise of a better life. Instead of it, what's happening? They're losing their jobs. They're seeing the income reduced. And they're losing access to a lot of social services. Donald Trump has cost about $3 trillion. And how has he done that? Mainly by tax cuts, and not tax cuts to the middle class or the poor, tax cuts to the wealthy. So essentially, he's basically catering to his own class, the billionaire class. As a consequence, he's becoming unpopular. The Republicans becoming unpopular. The untold story in this particular shutdown is how many Republicans are opposed to this immense rise in expenditure. Quite a lot of them. So 3 Democrats have voted in favor of this, basically, to avoid this shutdown. In other words, in favor of steps such as extending the Affordable Care Act. I think all 3 are going to face primary challenges, and all 3 are likely to be ex-House representatives by the time the next election comes next year. I want to say, Vineet, that, as you said, idiosyncrasy. I mean, we in India, people like us, who have for a long time been supporters of President Trump, we are perplexed at the twists and turns he's taking and the U-turns he's taking. U-turn is sharply different from his earlier position, sharply different from his stated position. And so far as healthcare is concerned, the reason why nothing has come to the table as far as Trump is concerned, if you want health care, you pay for it, and if you can afford it. And if you can't afford it, well, it's too bad. There's no reason to do anything for you. And that's his basic approach to healthcare. That's his basic approach to services. That's his basic approach to even these welfare measures. I mean, there's been a scalpel to several of them already. So I'd like to say that in my view, Vineet, this is becoming unsustainable even for his own party. And I think it's going to be a matter of months before his party basically tells Donald Trump, either you go back to what you were as a candidate and what you were in the initial months of your presidency, or please, we have got a problem. Remember, there's something called the 25th Amendment to the US Constitution, and that provides for a president to be temporarily or completely removed from office. I have a feeling, very honestly, I mean, and of course, Republican supporters continue in public to keep supporting him, even though they know some of his policies are indefensible. They come to different countries and support him there and become very unpopular in those countries as a result. Because frankly, he's against the whole world. His belief is the whole world should sacrifice in order to ensure that America cut deficit, that he himself has raised record numbers by record tax cuts, which he's proud of, which he boasts about. So frankly, Vineet, there's a recipe for disaster for his party, and before the 2026 election rolls by, I expect to see some pushback from them. Otherwise, they're going to be in deep trouble in the 2026 midterms, and both the House and the Senate will go to the control of the Democrats. Thereafter, President Trump becomes a lame duck president. Vineet.
You're absolutely right, sir. In fact, before we go to Purnima Nath,